course.
Being an athlete, what's the one question you always ask yourself?
Why? Why do I do this to myself?
Okay, everybody, thank you again for listening to this podcast. The previous one was great. I'm really happy on how everything is going. And so hopefully it stays this way. As you know, I try to get maybe 2 podcasts every 2 weeks or even 2 months. I'm happy with that anyway. But feedback, amazing. I did one with David the other day from the No Harris and everybody loved it as well. But for today, I have someone that I actually look up to. Me and her actually are a little bit competitive because we are actually roughly about the same speed. So I train with her for a little bit as well, and we try to push each other all the time. She's very sweet, she's very kind. Aoife Lynch, how are you today? Thank you so much for being on that show.
No problem, it's a pleasure.
Actually, why did you want to do the podcast in the first place?
Well, I was a little bit jealous. There was a few Denor heads getting to do it, and I was like, why isn't he asking me? That's okay. It intrigues me, to be honest, because I always love talking about, sport, but like in a casual kind of sense, and it's good to get an idea of it, like from other Irish athletes, and like someone like you as well, like you're kind of new to the whole track and field scene. So I was like, he could actually ask some really good like questions from the perspective of, say, like a personal training background. So I was like,
but yeah, I really appreciate someone like you, someone like
me,
so like an athlete at that level to be on the podcast. So again, I'm really grateful, and so maybe from 1 or 2 months from now, I'm excited to see what a podcast is going to be anyway. But like I said, you are a very sweet, very kind human being, and I appreciate you. I've learned a lot from you as well. But the one question I want to ask you is, you've been into the Europeans.
I've competed at European youth and European junior levels.
What was 20? So 20, you're not under 23.
I went to the under 23s, but only as a relay sub, so I wasn't really like. Okay,
so tell me, what's the how's that different, or was it different them two?
Like, it's a huge step up. First of all, I still have another year at under 23s, so it's every second year the championships are on. So the way it worked out, my birthday, I'm young enough to compete 2 years. So I had it last year, and I'll hopefully have it next year should I get the qualifying time. But like it's definitely a step up from youth and even junior level. Like you're competing against people that can be 2 or even 2.5 years older than you. For someone like me. Is
there a pressure when you go in to see all these great, amazing athletes which are competing against?
Yeah, especially at European level, like European athletes are really coming through the ranks in recent years, and you see these people that you're potentially racing against, like on the same age group, but they could be running in a diamond league or like a major championship in a few weeks. But that
also on the other side kind of boosts your confidence level as well.
Absolutely, because I think as a small country, Ireland and athletics, like the community in athletics, in Irish athletics, it gets nearly intimidated by the bigger nations. You see like Great Britain and like France and these amazing teams.
Why
of, like,
is this? Why is that? Do you think we don't have many athletes in Ireland? But we do have I'll take that back. We do have actually a good few athletes, but why do you think Ireland is like behind what you said, behind British athletics?
Not that it's behind, I think it's more like the psychological aspect of seeing these bigger teams, and obviously the likes of the UK and France and even other nations, they have bigger talent pools. Athletics in Ireland is such a small talent pool. You have like a few really good athletes with Olympic potential and like senior level potential on an international scale, but you need to have the interest there. You need to have like public interest, and I feel like a lot of that obviously is focused on Irish sports and like GAA culture, and maybe like athletics in Ireland doesn't get the funding that it needs, like to excel on an international level.
Do you know what, funny thing you mentioned that, because I actually noticed that in terms of sport wise, like athletics is not as much advertised as it is for rugby or soccer.
No, definitely not. Like it's obviously, it's great to have a national sport. It's fantastic.
I understand. Like, do you know what I mean? Like whenever there's football, soccer, Gaelic on, you always hear on the news, on the newspaper, people always talking about it.
It's the first sport that's reported about. And even, men's GAA, and even obviously ladies GAA and camogie is coming through as well.
In your point of view, if you were in charge of that, how would you go, like in what way can we change it?
In charge of what, sorry?
let's say if you were to advertise, if you want to promote athletics and make it a huge sport in Ireland, how would you go about it?
See, it's kind of a vicious cycle, right? Because athletics and any sport is only going to bring in funding if there's success on that behalf. So the athletes have to be successful in order to generate funding, in order to, you know, create more advertisements and more interest around it. Okay. So, you know, we need to have a few, which we do. We have some really good, successful athletes on an international level of all age groups.
Yeah,
you know, there's
of course,
really, There's some really good athletes
absolutely.
like coming through the ranks, and that is what generates interest, and that is what's eventually going to create more like funding for that. So I guess really just like encouraging the athletes on an international scale, you know, getting them out there, getting them exposed on social media. Like, it's great. In fairness, Athletics Ireland has a great media setup, and it will.
And of course, like, taking you as well as an athlete, like, you've competed, you are one of the top level athletes in Ireland. I know. I in my opinion, I know you are. Anyway.
On a sprinting level, like, it's very competitive.
Yeah,
like, there's a lot of sprinters, and there's a lot of excellent female sprinters. So it is quite competitive. But that's what, you know, pushes.
That's what you want anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. You know, like, in my age group particularly, going up through the years, it was always like, you know, at least 5 really good, you know, international potential girls in our age group. So it really did kind of force us all to like go against each other, and really that's probably what helped us like excel. So
absolutely
that has definitely helped.
And from me training with you in the north for a couple, notice you are a very risky person. Like, would you agree with me on this?
Sorry, do you want to start that again?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was a mess.
Don't worry about it. For example, let's say coach say we are doing 150, 180 or whatever distance is. You always let's do it. Fuck it.
Okay, yeah, no, the thing is, and do you mean like I'll kind of do my own thing?
No, as in we all be like, oh no, not the set.
And I'm like, let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
I don't want to sound like coach's pet, but like sometimes I think for a while, especially because I mainly focus, I'm primarily a 200 meter runner, so for ages I had this mental block about the distance itself, and I was like, okay, I need to be piling on the endurance and the volume of training in order to actually get around the track, because it's quite different to 100 meters.
So you know this training will help you, so you don't
I was like, every time like our coaches were like, endurance today, speed endurance, I was like, yes, like give me the longer sessions, which is good
because that's what you want. That's what you want in the first
absolutely
place. Okay.
But then you have to obviously, I think I was getting a bit too obsessed with that, and I was like, I'll take all these long, like maybe 400 meter focus sessions. I was like, why
bring
not?
it all to me.
But you can't neglect like the technical aspects and the speed focus as well. You know, you need to have a well-rounded regime. Okay. So that was definitely.
Well, I'm glad like you mentioned that, because that's what you want to improve. But one question I want to ask you is what have you changed to I'm gonna cut that part out anyway.
Cut out this question?
No, so this piece. I'm gonna keep that one that you just said. That was a great answer. But
I'm doing good, guys.
Yeah. What's the biggest risk that you have taken to be at who you are today, at that level you are today? What's the biggest risk you've taken, whether it is outside athletics, in athletics, college wise, anything like that? The number one risk I've taken for athletics is that if I want to compete, if I want to get faster, I have to run with people who are faster than me. And coming last, I need to get used to it, because that's where I am, and like I can't neglect reality. Do you know what I mean? Reality is I'm not fast compared to my other friends.
You know what?
Because they've been doing it for a very long time. So when I started doing athletics and see my friends running like fast and I was way behind, I was like, that's okay. It's gonna happen very often, and I need to get used to it. I can't just let that feeling takes me away from athletics. In order to improve, I need to run with those people, because they're going to push me faster. They're going to push me to go harder. Do you get me?
Absolutely. Yeah. In terms of risks, I guess, like, you need to always be, for me personally, when I'm training and even when I'm racing, in order to like run a relatively good time, I need to be pushed by people that are faster than me and ahead of me, which most people I think find. But like in terms of training, like we have a great group of lads that sprint, you know.
Absolutely.
We have some 200 meter and 400 meter runners, and generally I end up running with the boys. Like it's good. Obviously it'd be great to have some girls. Obviously there's the likes, you know, we have some hurdlers and multi-eventers, but a lot of them wouldn't specialise in 200. So it can be hard to get like a good pack of us going that are all at a similar speed. But then with the boys, it can be, you're out of their league, you know, like they're too fast.
That's exactly why coming to my point. At the,
they can. It can
few
be
earlier before. That's why I enjoy racing in with you.
Yeah, no, we are. We're pretty similar speed.
Pretty similar
speed. There's a few of the lads. I'm not saying I'm slower than all of them, but there's a few lads that are definitely, you know, they push me just the right amount.
Just the right amount. Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
It's good. No, it's definitely. But that's such a good point because it's so important to be running and competing with people that will push you. Like I'll go to say an event. There's an event every year in Belgium, but it's seeded, so that means your times are very close to your competitors' times, and you're put into a particular race.
Yeah, it's similar to what we have at the moment.
This NIA event, like they will put you into races with people that have similar PBs. Yeah. So that is what is going to get you and push you to a good time. I think that's how
more events should be. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, like they try and do it at every event as best they can. You know, there's always going to be an outlier. For the likes of the competition, you know, they'll have the 3 maybe top fastest times, but they'll spread them apart so that the 3 fastest aren't going to be knocked out straight away. But yeah, they're good. They try to even it out as much as possible, so there is an even spread. But it also helps people to qualify. Like they have the best chance of qualifying.
Absolutely. Of course, if there's
yeah.
With that being said, in your opinion, at the moment, what's the one risk that you have not taken but you really want to do it?
Oh, like in terms of like racing, or
in terms of just racing, anything in particular?
I don't know. I think the past couple of years I've definitely focused in on 200 meters.
Yeah, which
is great because that's the event that I would specialize in if I was going to an international event, and that's the one that I find myself better at.
Okay,
but I would love to give my all to the 100 meters more because I feel like there's more opportunity with that in terms of relays.
Okay.
And that's something like I've worked a lot
because
on
that's what you were doing in the European on the 23.
No, I didn't qualify for under 23.
No, the relay.
Yeah, well, the relay is 4x100 meters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
if I was to qualify like on a senior basis or an under 23 basis, there's definitely huge opportunity there because the women's relay squad is like amazing and they do excel internationally. So I don't want to just pigeonhole myself as a 200 meter runner. Like I want to like let them know like I can also run a good 100 meter time. So absolutely. As a result of that, I've done a lot of speed work over the winter, and I'm going to carry that into the outdoor season. So I think I'd be really happy to get like a good 100 meter time this summer, as well as
you will.
Depending if I do get a qualifying time for under 23s next year, but it will still qualify if I run it this summer. But I'll definitely try and run a few good 100 meters as well. So that's definitely a focus.
Being an athlete, what's the one question you always ask yourself?
Why do I do this to myself?
Yeah, do you really ask yourself that question?
Sometimes, honestly,
I know because I've done a few podcasts, people say that as well.
It could be after. I'd say that's the one question in athletics, especially track and field, that most people will ask themselves. Especially,
I've never. Do you know what funny thing was? I've never said that to myself.
Yeah, you haven't had a bad day yet. You haven't had a bad day at the office. But you will, like, anytime you might have a crap session, an injury. I've never been injured. Touch wood that I never will. But
me neither.
All it takes is like a bad race or a bad start. A bad gym session, anything like that that can just make you doubt yourself, and that's where all these negative thoughts come, and like the negative kind of like, what am I even wasting my time for? You know, when it's not like one day doesn't equate to what everything that you've achieved. So I guess that probably is quite a cliche question, but it's definitely one that crops up quite a lot, especially in the winter season when you have. You know, it's raining outside, you don't want to go outside.
In that cold.
I have like a mental block at the moment, so I'm trying to train here like every day. But it's great, like I only live up the road, so it's such a handy facility to have. Yeah.
And on the flip side, what thing excites you the most at the moment?
Excites me?
Yeah.
Definitely the prospect of getting to under 23s next year. I know it's far away, but not making it last year really like hit home, and it was just like it really affected me mentally because I was putting my all into the sport, and I was like, I will get this time, but I was too focused on the time itself rather than the quality,
process and
and like how well I was actually executing each race. So it was like, you know, it was my, like I was 100% focused, but it was nearly like I was gonna burn myself out either way. So I guess, yeah, I would love to fulfill that while I still have the chance, you know, whereas some people aren't lucky enough to get 2 years in the age group.
Yeah,
so that's definitely like a huge motivator.
But I know a lot of people that think like that as well. They focus on the goal and than the process.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because what else is there in a competitive sport? You know, like you need to be thinking at the highest level that you can. You know, like you could be running rings around like Santry Stadium where you go every day, but you need to be thinking like Olympic stadiums and like international stage, you know.
Because the one thing that annoys me a lot is people set themselves these big long-term goals, and I don't really like that.
Yeah,
and
like,
I know people will have, like, I have this conversation loads of time with my mates.
Yeah.
We talk about the law of attraction and everything. They always think about this long goal, going
if
to
you think
Olympics.
about it, it'll come,
like,
but it's not.
Yeah, it's good, but in terms of being practical, like for me, of course, I'm sure every athlete think themselves as running the Olympics.
Yeah.
Me running the Olympics? Hell no.
You
get me? You never know, but
if you can make it around that 200 meter track someday.
That was too soon.
Yeah, he had an incident tonight, so
that was very soon.
Yeah.
No, but exactly what I'm saying. If I actually don't break 7 seconds in my 60, I don't, like, why am I thinking Olympic in the first place? I need to think about the next.
There's no 60 meters in the Olympics, but
what?
There's no 60 meters.
Okay, not 60, but 100.
100. Whatever you're going for.
Okay, cool. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, obviously, it's one thing to set massive goals, which every athlete with aspirations should do. But it's also more important not to just expect to speak it into existence. You need to set realistic short-term goals.
Absolutely.
And that can be as simple as, I'm going to run this race this week, this race next week. You know, I'll sit down with my coach and he'll tell me what he'd recommend me doing, what the time frame is, and what I need to do to recover in between. And it's so important not to burn yourself out either. You need to race strategically and recover in between those. So definitely short-term goals are a huge thing. And to take the disappointments with the success.
Absolutely. That's because that is where you learn. Actually, you don't learn anything from winning, to be honest. Well, you do. You enjoy it. You enjoy it.
It's great, obviously, to succeed, but I've only been able to ever improve on my running and like my whole strategy of a race when I don't run well. So even if it's something as small as like my start wasn't good out of the blocks, that could affect, a couple hundredths of a second, which can be all the difference when you're going for a time. So
especially it's very short.
If something goes wrong, at the weekend I was running at the InterVarsity Championship for DCU. And
how'd you get on, by the way? I wasn't there.
I came third in the 200 meters individually, and our team came second in the 4x2.
DCU
for the girls, and the boys actually broke the relay record. Did they? So
fair play to them.
DCU reigning champions.
Fair play to them.
But like in my 200 meter heat, I wasn't happy with my start. I went back to my dad and I was like, I made a mess of that, and he was like, just correct it the next time and focus on it, and I did. And like I wasn't 100% happy with the race, but I was just happy that I fixed that element of it. So because I'm really happy you mentioned that, because you actually know where the mistakes is. You can pick it up straight away. Exactly. But even then, like whatever way the final went, I can build on that for the next time, which I will do. Next one isn't like till another 2 weeks time, which will be
what's in 2 weeks?
The national.
Are you not doing Leinster this weekend?
No, I'm not. Just because I think I tend to be quite lazy with races. Not lazy, I burn out pretty quick if I race every weekend.
Absolutely.
Because it's 200 meters and my endurance wouldn't be that good of say like a 200 400 meter athlete. I'm more like 100 200. I want to like race strategically, so I'll pick maybe 2 week gaps, and then I'll race, recover.
So that's good. Like from what you said, you do have a very structure. You're gonna do
and
that.
I know, like my dad, he loves watching me race, and he will, if he had his way, he would have me running every race, like every week. Of course. That's not realistic, and it will actually nearly make you go backwards. If you're too ambitious and you're too I'm gonna run this fast this week, then I'm gonna get fast, then I'm gonna get faster. It doesn't work that way. You're probably gonna burn yourself out, or you could get injured. So it's important to race, then figure out some time for recovery, maybe recoup, figure out what you need to work on.
Because everybody's different.
And then apply it for the next one. So
that's very interesting, because my next question was going to be, what's the best advice that you ever received?
Best advice?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
General.
I think definitely, and this is such a John Gagan mindset. That's my coach.
Okay.
He says just to focus on yourself. And like sometimes I'll come back to him and I'll be like, oh, did you see what this girl ran like this week?
Yeah.
And you know, how am I going to get that fast? And he's like, just
Fuck
focus
her.
on yourself. And to be honest,
Yeah.
I haven't
Actually
done that
take-
in a couple
okay.
of seasons.
Oh,
you
right,
don't
okay.
You don't want to curse for the
What?
kids.
No, there's no kids watching my podcast.
Yeah, like the
Swear
like
if
the
you want.
big what was I talking about? John. Yeah,
John,
I was
yeah.
like I haven't done it in a while. You know, the past couple of seasons I've been pretty good at just focusing on myself, but he won't care about what anyone else is doing. He only cares about his athletes, and he's like,
And how does that have help you? From
that advice.
That advice.
Yeah, well, it helps because you can't control what other people do anyway. So it's just a gentle reminder that it doesn't matter what they do, it matters what you do. And it's obviously so important to only worry about yourself and your improvement. And like it's something like pretty obvious, you might say, but it's definitely one that you can forget about, and you can get way too caught up. Even the likes of when you're on Instagram and you see what people are doing, where they're racing, that can have such a mental impact that you
Absolutely.
wouldn't think would affect
Yeah.
your own racing physically.
Yeah.
Um,
And you've experienced that before, haven't you?
yeah, definitely. Like at the moment, I'm deactivated my Instagram, but
Would you go back
I'm
into
gonna
it?
reactivate it
Okay,
for this
cool,
promote,
cool.
you know, self promotion,
Excellent, thank
and your promotion, of course, but me obviously. But yeah, no, it can have its negative effects. Like, it's so good to be able to, you know, collaborate and see the successes of other athletes, but it can have a negative effect, especially if they're your own competitors.